Well, tonight we're going to be talking about the Q2 earnings that were just released. There's a lot of information to unpack there. We'll talk about all that tonight. Plus a lot of stuff going on at Walt Disney World and craziness all over. All that tonight on ParksCenter. Welcome to ParksCenter for May 15th, 2022. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. And if you could, please give us a thumbs up. It helps people to find the show. And also make sure to subscribe to WDWNT if you haven't already. Chat along with us, super chat, whatever you got. But tonight we got a great panel for you, and we're going to start with a discussion, starting with Stephanie James. How are you?
Hi, everybody. Doing well. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Awesome. This feels like the first time. Patrick, how are you?
I am so excited to be here. Absolutely nothing unrelated to this show happened to me earlier today.
Nothing indeed. And with us tonight also, Matt, how are you?
Sivako.
I feel like you've given that more effort in the recent past. Can you do that again?
Yeah. Sivako. Let's have a great evening, guys.
That's all I was looking for. So tonight, folks, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. Happy Sunday to you. We're going to be talking about the discussion is going to be at the front of the show tonight, and we're going to get some park news at the end. But we wanted to start by talking about the Q2 earnings that were released. Man, I don't know if I can hit this the same way the second time, but let's give it a try. We're gonna start by talking about the numbers. The poor Walt Disney Company was only allowed to get $19.2 billion in revenue in the second quarter of 2022. They had $21.8 billion in the first quarter. So again, not looking too shabby, but what we're going to concentrate more so on tonight, since we are ParksCenter, is we're going to talk a little bit about the $6.7 billion in revenue that came from the Disney Parks experiences and products. You know what? When they had the earnings or the investors call early in the year, Bob Chapek famously said, "Hey, we may be doing some of the things that we left off the table early, including the e-ticket for Avengers Campus in California and the Mary Poppins expansion that they talked about for the UK. But we're not liquid enough. We don't have enough cash." When you see something like this, I'm going to go ahead and go to Stephanie on this one. When you see something like this, how does this make you feel when they say we don't have enough cash, but we just pulled $6.7 billion?
Yeah, I don't believe them. Someone like Patrick money, then maybe visit Walt Disney World from the Disney company and turn it into an Oriental Land situation. I think that would be ideal. Get it back to where it needs to be. Yeah, I think that they have their priorities mixed up. And clearly the parks are doing well. Clearly there's pent-up demand for leisure expenditure from the COVID lockdowns and everything still. And they need to invest more into their parks so that, you have a better experience and you want to come back.
Yeah. Matt?
Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot about these numbers. And for one, it's great to hear that the revenue for the Walt Disney Company, 1/3 of it comes from the parks and resorts. So I think this idea that they shouldn't be investing in the parks and resorts is a terrible idea, because obviously that's a big source of the revenue. I think, two, the soundbite of them not having enough cash, they're not liquid enough. I think I believe them to a point and don't believe them to another point. One, I think they're still making up for the pandemic. I think that, yes, they were down for almost a year, and some of the parks are still even down. So I think bad debts, things like that, they still need to bring in revenue to cover those things. But at this point, parks are pretty much in full swing. It's important for them to start investing to keep that momentum going. But I think on the same hand, things are going back to normal. And so to keep driving up costs to the guest, I think is just in bad taste. Just because they're trying to be a place where families can have a great time, and then to make it even harder for families to go as often as they would like. It just doesn't look good, especially in the economy we're in. But also, to that same point, we're in an economy now where things are getting more expensive. Their costs are going up as well. So I know typically we're on the side of being down Disney, but I think from a business perspective, I see a part of what they're doing, but also I think it's time to start reinvesting. And we see with their brother company or sister company in Japan, you're still investing and they're reaping the rewards from it. So
Yeah. Before we move on, I feel like you need to make an introduction there with your co-host.
Yes, this is my.
Because you're fooling nobody, obviously.
Yes, this is my puppy Belle. She is an Alaskan Malamute.
Aww.
She is about 5 months old now, or 4 months old. She'll be 5 months here later this month. So she's our little pup. She's my new co-host.
Yeah. Well, we didn't vet her ahead of time.
Yeah, sorry. She just
That's
kind
funny.
of jumped on the couch and said, "Hey, I want to be part of this show."
What, Patrick? What? Tell us.
That's bad.
Yeah, give us your thoughts now, man. Let loose, because I know you're a big Bob Chapek fan. I know this about you. So,
best CEO in the country. Just really, the way he's able to upset both sides of the aisle politically is something to really strive for in this day and age when we're so divided. We can all unite in our hate of Bob Chapek because he's terrible. He's absolutely awful, and every time they put a microphone in front of his face, he says something stupid. Now, the parks experience is still good, but it is not what it should be. Maintenance is down. I mean, we don't even bother hiding show buildings anymore. I thought that Guardians was going to be bad, but my goodness, is the Tron show building just out in the middle of nowhere when you're on the queue to Barnstormer, which my daughter got to ride for the first time, and I went on several times, and I just stared at that building. Like, come on, man. You have all this money. Reinvest some into the parks. Matt's right. Japan's doing it. Look at what Universal's doing. Universal's building an entire new gate. We've all wanted a new gate forever. They're coasting right now. They're lucky to get what they have, and I feel like there is an uppance a coming.
A comeuppance. Gotcha. So, yeah, and again, from that investor call when Bob Chapek said we're not liquid enough, and I get what you're saying, Matt and Stephanie, like that there was a lot of, I mean, the pandemic did, put a hurt on them, but they were down for, from March to July in Florida, and then almost basically a year in California. So I get that, but they've also made a lot of adjustments to take a lot of this out on us, and we'll talk about that in a second. But first, one of the things that we saw also as an article was that the stock dropped as low as it could have possibly dropped since May 2020, and then we had, right after this investors call, we had it that the stocks were on the rise again after the call. So I think here's the other thing to consider about this, and this is me actually being in favor of the company and what they're doing, is that you have to release for your investors the best story you possibly can. And it doesn't necessarily mean that that's the truth. It's the spin. So maybe what we're looking at here is really just the spin and not the truth of what's happening. But again, it makes it really hard when you cancel projects that you had promised me, and then you reconfigure annual passes to hurt me and benefit you and the park reservation system and blah blah blah. So I don't know that we Belle, did you have something, Belle, on this, or was that
Sorry.
Okay, no, all good. I don't know if you guys, do you guys have any thoughts? Raise a hand on stocks unless we move on. All right, Patrick, what's that like?
I think that, of course, it's not a place to take your stock buying tips from us here at WWNT, but it would be a good time to buy Disney stock because it's pretty much untouchable. Even though there's these fades, it almost always goes up, and this company will always pull something out. There'll always be a Marvel film or a Star Wars film or something to bump that. If you're an investor, I think it would be a good time to buy low. And Rob, 150%, I agree with you. We were deep in the spin zone with that investor call.
Deep in the spin zone. Matt, did you have something you wanted to add about the spin zone? Or
I was going to say it's pretty common for any kind of company right now, especially with what they've been through in the past couple of years, is that you have to spin it to keep everyone kind of level-headed and not dump in their stock. And so I think they're going to really promote what they're doing well, at least from a fiscal perspective. Their numbers, I think, are looking good. But obviously, they're not going to highlight the fan perspective and the social perspective of things right now, because from that perspective, it looks really bad from us that actually experiencing the parks. Because unfortunately, some of those investors have never been to a park or will never go to a park for many years or never plan to, but know that it's a good buy because, as Patrick pointed out, it's kind of an evergreen stock. It's going to be one that serves you well in your portfolio for a long time. So
Yeah. No, I agree. Stephanie?
I'm going to put a caveat to what Patrick said. So you do want to buy low and sell high and talk to your individual portfolio manager or your investment banker, yourself. But you don't also want to catch a falling knife. So I don't know that we've seen the end of this. And also you have to know that your Disney stock is not just Disney parks that you're investing your money into, but it's also Disney Plus. And I think that the Disney company had some good international opportunities coming up in 2020. So it probably will go up, like Patrick said.
That's graphic, Stephanie. Catch a falling knife. Like I can't unthink about that. That's
right.
Yeah. No,
that's a good turn of phrase.
Yeah,
good.
it really is.
Yeah, really good.
No, you're right. And one of the things that they mention is that the Disney Plus, and again, we're talking about parks, but Disney Plus, looks like it won't really turn a profit until 2024. And the reason for that is they spent almost $80 billion on that Fox IP. More so than, just to put it into perspective, I think Lucasfilm cost them $4 billion, and the same thing with Marvel.
Yeah.
And then they turn around and spend almost $80 billion to get Fox and all of those assets, and basically for the streaming service. So that it's gonna be a while. If you are making that a hard cost attached to that streaming service, it's gonna take time, no matter how good your numbers are. But that is something. So let's talk about how this really impacts the parks and us, because really that's all we care about, unless you're catching that fallen knife. So when we go back in to look at some of these articles that we've written, Disney points to Genie Plus and, quote, more favorable guests as reasons behind revenue increase. I need to go
right. The quiet part loud.
I need to go right to you, Patrick. What's a more favorable guest?
Oh my God! They just say the quiet part loud now. It's not. They're not even trying. People with more money. People you call them whales. They're going out there. They might not have the best time, but it doesn't matter because they're going to Victoria and Albert's. They're going to California Grill. They're going to spend all this money and be mad about spending it. And people like me who enjoy myself going there, who brings a backpack full of water, who's walking around with every discount outside a cast member, I'm not the person they want there, and that's very clear. But man, they just have no tact anymore.
Stephanie, comments on this one?
No, you're absolutely right. The deeper pockets, I guess, is what they're wanting, right? Those with cargo pockets or something on the sides of their shorts filled with cash. But we do see, we've always had this debate between the annual pass holders that go all the time, and do they spend more money versus the people that come once or twice a year at the most, spend thousands of dollars on the hotel rooms and such. So I think that that's who they're trying to cater to, is the people, and even those without families that'll come and spend a lot of their cash. So yeah, I think that's what the future holds, unfortunately.
Yeah, Matt, what I'm almost afraid to ask, what's a more favorable, in your opinion, what's a more favorable park guest?
Well, and so this is something we've been talking about, I think, for a couple of years now, is that Disney's doing this socioeconomic pruning of their guest demographics. We've seen it every step of the way, especially with bringing the parks back from the pandemic, seeing the prices go up, but also the price of hotel rooms and even the price of passes. Is that Disney definitely has some numbers on each individual park guests, at least what they're spending, and the type of person they are, and they're catering everything to that. And that's why we're seeing less benefits to annual passes, and really kind of not encouraging the annual pass system, because they want you to spend more money, and if you have the ability to spend that money, they want you in those parks. Whereas back in the day, it was if you could budget, save enough money, anyone could go to Disney. It's becoming harder and harder for those lower middle class families to even go once in their life. So, and I don't think Disney really cares if you don't go. I think they really care about if you're there, you're able to spend that money and fork over that cash, and they care about you. But if if you're not part of that socioeconomic class, the upper middle,
Yeah.
Disney doesn't care. And that's just what we've seen.
Tom's going to get an angry text after this.
Good.
Hi,
Okay,
Jackie.
so one of the other things that like, we've been talking about Genie Plus. Genie Plus is a thing that kind of happened for them in their Q2, right? So, that's that. I mean, maybe not. That's been around for a while, I guess. But Genie Plus revenue is definitely something that has got to be contributing to this. But also, sorry for this. If I go back to this opened up in March, so this has got to be something that has contributed to that 4.7 billion domestically, I would assume, because they're saying that it has strong demand for it. There's strong demand for it. As someone who was scheduled to go, but to my knowledge hasn't gone yet, Stephanie, what do you think about this?
I still hold my reservation, so we'll find out. Like I said before, I know, but like I said before, December, I had to move it from July to December, and it went up in cost. The same exact room, and it went up in cost. What is the demand? It's a fixed amount of rooms, and it's a fixed time frame. So I don't really know, other than the fact that it's December, why they were able to push that price up. But yes, I still hold it. We'll see. I don't see that there is a sellout going on, except in those particular type of rooms. So if you are, people that can, fit 4 into a cabin, we're almost 7 people now. So we have to get this one particular type of room, and they only have a couple of those per trip.
Yep. So you're going to go big.
Yeah.
Nice.
If we go at all.
I like it.
Yeah.
So to kind of level set all of this, these reports were meant for stockholders and not for us park goers. I mean, that's the thing. It was meant to make them happy. But again, you can't open up a microphone and say these things and not expect the other people to hear "let them eat cake." You just can't, right? So when I'm looking at how this affects the parks, the impact that it has on our experiences have kind of been just pummeled one after the other, and we've talked about it so much on ParksCenter. You have the park reservation system, which I think just works for them, and Bob Chapek has even said he's it's exceeding their expectations. It is not exceeding my expectations as the park goer, and it makes me freaking angry as all get out. Sorry for the language, Patrick. I know you're a little sensitive, but it just drives me crazy. And then on top of that, Genie Plus, because you've taken away free Fast Pass from people, obviously people who are time crunched, and we've talked about it on here, are going to spend that money, Patrick, and they're going to pay for Lightning Lanes and Genie Plus when they go to the parks. What is this? What is happening here? Oh, dude. You just make it rain when you go down there, don't you? You just make it rain. But I mean, again, our experience has been changed a lot, and they've seen the benefit of that, and we're reporting it to their stockholders. Thoughts, Patrick? Part of the problem?
I am absolutely part of the problem and a giant hypocrite, and it's difficult to come on shows like this and say what I say and then go dump a boatload of cash into the parks. The reservation system is awful, and why 2 p.m. for park hopping? I have no idea what, just like
Exactly.
2 o'clock, yep, maybe after the parade, I don't know. The impact is, you can see it though. People aren't happy. We're going to talk about it a little bit later on, and I know Walt Disney World is the most magical place on earth, but it most certainly hasn't been the happiest place on earth. It's tense. Yeah. There now. It's not great.
By the way, and I should know this, but I don't. Disneyland is the happiest place on earth. Disney World is the most magical place on earth. Disneyland Paris is
the Frenchest place on earth.
Thank you. Okay, cool, definitely. All right. Further thoughts of the impact from the parks, Stephanie?
Oh, I think Patrick is absolutely right. I think that the guest experience has gone down. Even since they reopened from COVID, I know that, having a lot of the entertainment options not there was disappointing for people. But now, like Matt said, it's getting back to normal. So things need to be coming back with more on top of, so that people will have the same experience that they had before.
Yeah. And Matt?
Yeah, I would say that to Patrick's point, when I was there recently, it's definitely not this like happy-go-lucky, happy to be in this most magical place. It seems like one of the most stressful places now, between having to refresh your tip boards to get a new lightning lane, to bring your credit card out again to pay, to make sure you can get on a certain ride. You don't feel like I had this kind of image in my head when I was young that like you're becoming part of this story. You're becoming part of this magical world, where you're being kind of doted upon and had cast members there to kind of make sure that you're having the best day possible. And I feel like now you're just a number. You're part of the system. You're part of their revenues and not a guest of theirs. I think we've really transformed from customers, where before we were really guests. And
wow, that's so good, man. Well done.
Yeah.
So they should stop calling us. They should stop calling us guests. Then they should just call us rubes.
Pretty much.
Call them marks. That's what we are, man.
Yep.
Just another mark.
Just another mark. Okay. Well, all right. So one of the last things before we move on, they reported that the park guest per capita spending grew more than 40% over 2019. Well, duh. Because again, you've had to pay for all of these other things that you didn't have to pay for before, like Genie Plus. Prices have gone up. More conveniences, just food, beverage, admission, annual passes, everything has gone up in price. So to say that, yeah, okay, spending is up more than 40%. And it's like, because you made us. Not because you earned this in any way, shape, or form, but because you made us. So Patrick, as somebody who has gladly handed over his wallet. How much did you pay for Rise? How much did you pay for Rise? Do you want to talk about that?
I did not pay for Rise on this trip.
I
did not pay for Rise. I
Okay.
did. Yes, that's right. The last one I did pay for Rise. No, that's a really valid point, Rob. They did nothing to earn this increase. It's not like they brought something miraculous. It's not like a great attraction opened up. Guardian seems like it's going to be that, and maybe we'll read about that in the Q3 report. But you're right. They just got more out of each and every person because they've cheapened the experience by making it more expensive, if that makes sense. I feel like it does. Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah, it does. Let me move on to the future now, because I do want to talk about the future. But before we talk about the future and the leadership and all that, one thing that came to our website this week, and then Disney said, no, we misspoke, was the idea that you may have to pay for hotel housekeeping. You may have to pay for housekeeping. They've already done this thing where we have to pay for parking, we have to pay, the resort fees, we have to pay all these other things. Just raise the freaking price again. The little one-off kind of a thing. I mean, what they did try to do pre-COVID, so we can't blame COVID for this, but pre-COVID, they tried to say, hey, for some of these, we want to go ahead and see if we can get you to not use your housekeeping, which should be included, so we'll give you a gift card. That was something that they were doing for a while, and it was one of those things where I was like, do I want to do that? Because I'm going to need more towels, and I'm going to need more like soap and things like that, but I guess I can come down to the front desk or call and have them knock on my door at 9 o'clock at night or whatever. It's just nice to come back to your room and have it reset. And so, was it worth it? I don't know. But I know that, they've gone back to the full service. Even during COVID, it was partial service, which seemed the opposite thought to me. You want it cleaner when you have COVID, right? So it seemed like the opposite problem, but I know they have problems with staffing, et cetera, and all that kind of stuff. But if this were to come to pass, Stephanie, would you pay the extra fee or I mean, I don't even know what to say.
Well, those of us with DVC already know that you get trash and towel service, but on days 4 and 7 of your stay, am I
7.
wrong, Rob? Is that right? Yeah,
I think
7.
it was. I thought it was day
So
3.
I believe it's
maybe it's 3 and 6, but it's a certain amount of time in between that you cannot, that they won't come to your room, and you have to do it yourself. Either bag up the trash and leave it there for when they do come by, or call, like you said, down to the front desk and get them to bring up extra towels or what have you. So we're kind of used to doing that already with the DVC, and yes, you could pay for them to come into your room every day and do what they do. I agree, though, if you're paying exorbitant amounts of money, especially at Grand Floridian or Beach Club, $800 a night, yes, you want them to come in, unless you put that little card on your door that says, somebody's napping or something. So, yeah, I think that is kind of ridiculous. But some people maybe just they'll be in the park so much they won't care.
Okay, conspiracy theory, Patrick. They put this out, and then they said, "No, you misheard us." Could they have been fishing to see how angry we were going to get?
Do you ever think they used WDWNT for that specific reason?
I mean, kind of.
Yeah. Like, here, we're going to float this out to Tom and see how mad people get. Man, I actually stayed off-site on this trip, and I have to say that Disney does it 100 times better. We bagged up trash and left it by our door, and it stayed there for our entire stay. They expected
Motel
us
6?
to wash. No, we were at. I'll put them on blast. We were at IHG Orange Lake, doing their spiel. They expected you to wash your own pool towels. So you got a certain amount of pool towels for the week. You had to wash them yourself. There was no towels actually at the pool. So somebody said it in the chat. All hotels are using COVID as a reason to try and nickel and dime people, and then have people walking around without masks. Still, people are coming in sick instead of taking sick days. Like, do the big things and stop pretending that the little things are spreading the disease.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from housekeeping, I think, like I said, like Sydney said, as a DVC member, I'm used to living my own filth, so it's like nothing new.
Wow, good Lord.
Yeah, but yeah, I think I think a lot of this has been tested in the DVC realm. So the idea of we pay if we want to have housekeeping done more. But I think the conspiracy theory is probably not that far off. I know that there's other industries, the tech industry, things like that use leaks as a way to take a barometer of guest responses or client responses. So I think this could have been a real thing bounced around within probably accounting, but also went to parks and resorts as a potential idea. But I think it's bad show. I think we've already lost so much of that magic of, like I talked about earlier, of being that guest, having that guest experience, that this would just be another nail in that coffin of those days are long gone now.
Yeah. Before we move on to the last one, I do want to talk about Bobby C for just a minute. And here's the thing about it is, I've asked people this question who have said to me, I literally talked to somebody who used to work for the company, and they said this. They said the difference is that when Bob Iger worked for the company had heart, and it just gave me chills. It was just like, that's exactly right. Like, the company had heart, and that's what made Disney different for all of us. It was when we were growing up through the Eisner era, Iger era, and it had heart. And they stopped to think, okay, bottom line, yes, but how can we get as close to the guest experience as we need to without hurting the bottom line? And now they're just like, bottom line, full speed ahead. So, that to me means, like I've said, so what's going to make him, like, leave? I mean, he's got the best gig in the world. As long as he's making the company money, I can't see the board of directors going, you know what? Let's make him leave. If he's making them money, most likely they're not going to ask him to leave. So he did, the bare minimum and reached out and thanked the cast members for a successful quarter of 2022. And there's this letter on our website, and at the very bottom, this is the part that I like, where it says, "I'm excited to be on this journey with you." Like, that's how he ended it. I mean, is he on that journey with them, or is he just squeezing them for everything that he can get and then moving on? As a former cast member, Stephanie, I'm throwing this one to you first.
I don't think he's with them if he's taking his bonus during COVID. I mean, give it back, like
Got him.
Return it to the parks.
Got him.
But anyway, I feel like if he continues to give such bad PR, which he has over the last few months, shoved his, open mouth, shove your foot in kind of thing, I don't see how they keep him on, even if the company's stock prices do rise.
Yeah. And this other article we had said, at the highest levels of Hollywood, there's a consensus that Chapek is damaged goods and doesn't have the finesse or capacity to save himself. Yeah, I think he's done too much damage. Yeah. To your point, Stephanie, absolutely. It's a PR thing and not necessarily the money thing. Matt, you're agreeing with that?
Yeah, I think he's a PR nightmare. No matter where you are politically, he's
say how you really feel.
Yeah. But I really think that obviously his numbers are good in terms of financial numbers. But I think the day of reckoning is coming, not only for him, but also especially the Florida parks, is that once 2025 hits, Epic Universe opens, I think there's going to be a really massive paradigm shift, at least in Florida, is that Universal is doing a lot of good things for their guests. I really feel like you're a guest more than you are at Disney, at Universal. And they're investing in the parks, I think. And again, his numbers, at least like pew polls, are not good. So I think if we look at his longevity, I think he's not meant for this company much longer. I think we've heard a lot of internal talking about once his contract's up, I think in 12 months or so, we might see him gone, just from the PR perspective. But I think also from the guest services perspective, there's a little brother that's starting to look real strong.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and skip Patrick because I don't think he has anything to say about Bob Chapek.
No, nothing.
No, did you?
My lawyer has told me I should stop saying things about Bob Chapek.
No.
So I will go ahead and do that and say, man, he has a really good barber. Just takes it nice and clean. Respect to that. Yep, that's good.
Don't lie. You don't have a lawyer.
I do. It's Ron.
Oh, Ron Dan. Okay, and he has advised you to stop. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, so again, we just kind of scratched the surface of this. We were giving our own opinions, trying to figure out how what it means for the parks. Again, I look back at what we have had to give up as far as projects that were on the table that they've taken away. Matt, to your point, they're still building Epic Universe, and yet here we are. We're not doing Reflections. Mm-hmm. We're not doing the Cherry Tree Lane. We're not doing the Spaceship Earth. We're not doing the original Festival Center. We're not. There's so many things that we're not doing at Disney that they're still doing at other places. And Stephanie, to your point, at Tokyo, they're still looking at the future, and they're still making those changes and things. So. The park reservation system, man, if they would just get rid of that instead of keep telling me how great it is and how it's going to stay here forever, then I would go, okay, all right, I'm paying $18 for a balloon, but yeah, I don't have to reserve an opportunity to get into a park I've already paid for. That would be wonderful, right. But it doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So let's go real quick around the horn. Final thoughts, Q2, and all the things we talked about here on this discussion, Stephanie.
Well, my whole hope, I guess, out of this is that if the stock prices do continue to go down, that also means that Chapek's stock goes down. And I will say that whenever you the dictator, you have to really do need to have somebody that is better and preserving the original intent of Walt Disney and the original intent of the parks, which is to provide a safe and fun environment for families and everyone of every generation to come.
Yep. All right, Matt.
Yeah, I would say obviously the revenue looks good for the company, but I hope that they see the potential and the importance that the parks have in the portfolio, and they start reinvesting in the parks again and heed some of their competition's battle cries and what they're doing in the space. But also I hope to feel like a guest once again at the parks in the near future.
And Senator Hackett?
I think this is actually a real easy problem to solve. I think you take Abigail Disney and you give her a shot somewhere in the company, put the Disney name back on there, get somebody that really cares about the brand. This is about the brand as a whole. Like you said, Rob, we focus on the parks, but this is about everything. And the brand is taking such a huge hit, included with the stock. Now, we didn't really talk about what their expenditures were. This is just profit. We don't know what their dividend was. And I do think that this reign is in trouble because I don't think that all that glitters is gold here.
Mm-hmm.
Are you quoting songs now?
Maybe.
You're an all-star, man. All right, so thank you guys so much for this discussion. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be back to run through all the news from Disney parks around the world and then some. So don't go anywhere. We will be right back. No, you know what? We're not going to be right back. I'm gonna pause, and I'm going to Patrick, vamp for a second for me, would you?
Sure. I was just seeing in the chat that somebody was talking about that the food quality is down, and I have to say I had one of the most surprising meals I have had on Walt Disney World property. All of a sudden, at like 9 p.m., Hollywood and Vine opened up, and I was like, yeah, we want CC to meet all the characters there. And the meal I got at Hollywood and Vine was absurdly good, and it was upscale dining. I was so shocked because I've only heard bad things about this, but it was this wonderful pork dish with polenta. It was a nice pork loin, had a bacon, peach, and golden raisin jam on top, and I was like, this is upscale dining, and I get to meet Goofy. So there was nothing really bad there. I have to say, cast members and food remain quality in the parks. I had the best cast experiences. I don't know how cast members do it, that they're able to stay so positive and so wonderful in the face of all this.
Yep, agreed. Thank you. I appreciate that. I just wanted to hear a little bit more from you, so now we'll cut to a commercial, and we'll be right back.
This program is brought to you by WIGS, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. Support WDWNT to get early and exclusive access to content you can't find anywhere else, including exclusive post shows for WDW News Tonight and ParksCenter, exclusive programs including our retro riffing show, Ride Rehab Watches, bonus episodes of Club 22, and a monthly Zoom with Tom, access to our Discord community, and much more, starting at just $2 a month. For more information, visit patreon.com/WDWNT or visit WDWNT.com and click the Patreon link. Join WIGS and unlock even more WDWNT.
Welcome to Deep in the Plus. Each week, join host Rob Whiteside and a panel of Disney superfans as they take a different movie or TV show from the Disney Plus catalog, tell you its history, details, give their review, and let you know if it's worth your time. Current shows, classic movies, and everything in between. Watch Deep in the Plus live Tuesday nights at 9 Eastern for new episodes, or catch Deep in the Plus anytime on YouTube at unplannedDowntime.com.
Welcome to Disney Entertainment News Today from WDW News Today. I'm Rob Whiteside from WDWNT.com, and here now are the top Disney entertainment stories
For the latest in Disney entertainment news, watch Disney Entertainment News Today, hosted by Rob Whiteside. From movies and series news to stage shows, books, video games, and more. New episodes drop every Tuesday on Unplanned Downtime.
Welcome back to ParksCenter. Again, if you have not already, please give us a thumbs up. It helps people to find the show. Subscribe to WDWNT on YouTube for more great content. And also, chat along with us in the chat. We are following along. I know that Patrick has been hosting, I guess, some food tips in the chat, which is always fantastic. So thanks for doing that, Patrick. So you know what? We're going to run through some parks news in a section that I've stolen from Patrick called Around the Hub. We're going to start at WDW, Walt Disney World, just because. Why not? There's a lot of stuff that's coming out of Disney World. We try to find the best stuff that we can talk about. And tonight, there's a couple of announcements about refurbishments coming to hotels. Now, I look at this one, and I think Art of Animation seems fine. So the fact that they're looking to make some upgrades here and refurbishments, I think, is great. I'm excited about that. That means maybe they're working ahead of the curve, as we talked about them having a little bit of a problem with keeping up with maintenance, etc. This one, though, boy howdy. I mean, is this what the All-Star Sports rooms looked like when they first opened up? Because I feel like this is like a time capsule looking back at what these look like. So I feel like this is something that they were closed forever. That was the last resort to open up. And, Patrick, why didn't they take care of this while they were closed?
This is my biggest question about the pandemic and the Walt Disney Company, is that once we learned how to be remotely safe, they could have got construction workers on Tron. They could have been working on Guardians. They could have been refurbing work. They could have been actually putting money into the economy and into the community, and they just stayed closed instead. I think it's great that everyone's getting a facelift. I actually kind of like that the All-Stars have a little bit of personality to them, and I do worry that everything is going to be that clean, modern, no personality look.
But you're okay with this? That looks like it came straight from the 80s, or
no, I'm not okay with that. But
okay.
I would like, at least it has stars on it. I mean,
yeah.
It's on theme. It's cheap and it has stars. There you go.
Matt, can you count on one hand how many times you stayed at the All-Star?
Yeah. No, but I think they're charming. I think, to Patrick's point, they're a little bit like a time capsule. They're the one of the few resorts that still have those bed runners. But I'm glad to see that they are doing some refurbs and keeping things kind of on the up and up. But it is a big head scratcher. To my point earlier on in the show, little brother Universal was build a whole roller coaster during the pandemic. So it is odd that Disney, while the parks were empty and they found out some, hopefully, and I feel like the industry found a way to do things safely construction wise, why they weren't doing this while everything was closed and there wasn't a need to work around guests. But I'm glad to see that we are seeing some investment and keeping things looking good, especially for a resort, those two resorts that are used very heavily. So it is important that they keep those looking fresh. So.
Yeah, when they built these hotels, the All-Star Sports, it was during a time where they were like, hey, we need to make some economy living so that people like Patrick don't feel like they have to stay off grounds. And so they made all these things happen, and it was great that they had All-Star Sports, All-Star Music, and All-Star Movies. But you know what? I mean, to me, All-Star Sports was not the one I wanted to stay in. But when they made them, they were very adamant at the time that we wanted to do that we wanted to have. I'm trying to figure out if Patrick is just not blinking. Sorry, I'm a little distracted.
Yeah, me too. Sorry.
Yeah, when they were making these, they wanted it to be, again, value. But Stephanie, you talked about this earlier. There aren't a lot of value options for families Don't you think they need to, when they go in here and refurbish these, maybe make some that are like suites so that we could actually have families staying in there? Or am I way off base on that one?
No, and they do have some family suites in the All-Stars, not All-Star Sports in particular, I don't believe, but it's, All-Star Movies, All-Star Music. I spoke to a lady actually recently who was there and stayed at All-Star Sports because of a cheer competition. And so they're putting all of the cheerleaders groups and other conferences, kind of things that they're doing at a wide world of sports out there at All Stars. And she said her comment was not necessarily about the grounds of the resort itself, but the rooms. So it is a much needed thing to have this renovation. I'm with Patrick though. I wish that it was more individualized to the resort and not just sterile hospital looking rooms.
Wow. Again, a very vivid description from you. From the catching a falling knife person.
I am a
to say
doctor. I don't know
rooms.
how else to do it.
Hospital rooms. I can't wait for what's next, though. It's going to be great. So let's move on to, again, the continuing story of Epcot, which has been under construction, apparently, as far as any of us can remember at this point. And I think that's the excuse to Matt's point about the fifth gate that they made is like, no, we need to get these parks right first and invest in them. Well, that's great. I feel like do that on your own time and give me a new park. That's really what I want. But we've been paying full price to get into, again, what I've been calling Walcott, because when you go in, that's all you see are walls. Now, they've done a good job of decorating them. Good for you guys. But also at the same time, it's been a nightmare. Unless you come in through World Showcase or the International Gateway, you cannot miss the fact that there are places you can't go that you wanted to go before. So we have some construction updates from Epcot, including this area, which I haven't been since probably February, and I didn't realize that this whole area behind what used to be Mouse Gear is still a catastrophe. We've got walls up that I didn't even know were there, right underneath Spaceship Earth, and then we've got this bathroom has been kind of separated, and those that need to be fixed. Those are over by the Imagination. And then we've also got some, the Moana area is still under construction, and this planter is still a thing. So, here's Moana. Moana's looking fantastic. I can really already picture myself there. It's just there's so much construction going on. We did get to see that they put up the guest relations sign. I do. At least it fits with the aesthetic of the Creation Shop and the Connections Cafe, but I mean, I'm not sure how I feel about that because I don't know. Patrick, tell me how I feel about all this.
I think you were being a little sarcastic with Moana, but I'm kind of feeling like hopefully it gets a quick build because it's a walkthrough attraction, so I don't know what they really have to do. The aesthetic is fine. I think we've hit it really hard. Connections is a great place. It's a good place to eat. It's open. It's airy. It doesn't feel like Disney World. It feels like a college campus. But, I mean, it's fine. I'm just hoping that they do keep making good progress on Moana because it's an interesting place, and also it's taking up the whole center of the park.
Yep. But you were just, like you said, you were just there. So you've been in Connections Cafe. And you said, like, when you walk in, it doesn't immerse you in the world of the experimental prototype community of tomorrow. It sort of feels like LSU. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no. It felt. I visited the University of Miami a few years ago. It felt very similar to the University of Miami. It was nice. It was great to have silverware. Like, the food was tremendous, but it didn't scream Disney.
Fun.
And honestly, I know we did a segment where we were talking about like where you can buy Disney furniture. It literally looked like it was stocked out of an IKEA.
That's so fun. I can't wait. But again, all of this construction feels like it's been going on for 100 years. Probably the last time you were there, Stephanie, it was still walls everywhere, wall to wall.
Oh, yes, absolutely. We were there in February, and it was the story of dirt much more than the journey of water. So I'm excited to see what they come up with. My kids love Moana, and like I said, they'll play at any fountain, even when they're not supposed to. So that's I hope that they get that done quickly.
They'll play in any fountain, even when they're not supposed to. I'm sure you do not let them do things they're not supposed to, Stephanie.
Well, try to stop them. But
Yeah. Matt?
Yeah, I was there in February as well, my last trip, and I'm just glad that some pathways are finally opening up, because it was, especially then, so difficult to get through the front of the park, and even to start getting into some things that were actually opened in, now, formerly Future World. But yeah, I'm disappointed that especially many of the things that we were promised with Epcot are being scaled back, because I think that they could have made it work financially. And Epcot deserves some really beautiful and iconic structures, or potentially iconic structures. So I hope that we see, we see some love to Epcot here shortly, and then they just finally button this project up, because I feel like this project's been going on for most of my adult life at this point. It feels like,
Right.
even though it's only been, I think, like 3 or 4 years now. So I think they. Well, I hope they finally finish this project up so we can actually start talking about this fifth park, because they're investing so much into parks, or so much into resorts, i.e. The Polynesian expansion, all these new towers they're putting in. We need a place for these people to go. So let's finish this project up so we can focus on something that actually will be helpful to capacity.
Yeah, I love that optimism, Matt. I wish I could get on board with you on that was going to happen. But, I mean, Magic Kingdom has always been Magic Kingdom, and I think that adding Tron to it is just going to make it that much better. Animal Kingdom's a beautiful place. I think it could use more, but it doesn't need to be demolished and rebuilt from the ground up. However, we have seen Hollywood Studios be demolished and built from the ground up. Still charging you full price for like 2 attractions that were open during that time. Same thing happened with Disney California Adventure, just a war zone. And I get that at the end of the rainbow there's going to be a full park, but it feels like you should have built that a little bit here and a little bit there. I feel like during COVID, to Patrick's point, they could have been doing some of this stuff, but it's just very frustrating that we've been paying full price for this park, and they go, look, festivals are over here. No, don't pay attention to the front. Festivals over here, guys. Come get them. Come buy your merch. We need to get at least 40% increase out of your pockets. So that's my thing about Epcot. I love Epcot. I love the original Epcot. I don't mind what it's supposed to be as much. I'm looking forward to it, like you said, but just so much of it that we saw. I think it was D23 2017 maybe when they started this process, and then 2019 when they were like, these are all the things that are going to be there, and then just everything closed, and I get COVID and I get cash flow, but it just feels like they need to be working toward the future, and we talk about that a lot. So speaking of which, Tron. Same thing, right? I mean, almost we could say verbatim the same exact stuff, but we did get to see that there were some behind the scenes of the cars on the track. Now, just like Zach Ridley teasing us with flooring, I'm curious as to why they would get us even more excited about something we obviously know is coming. We're obviously excited about, but yet we have zero timeline on when this could happen. I mean, we don't know when the train's coming back. We don't know when the roller coaster is going to be done. I mean, it's just, it seems like it seems mean, maybe? Mean might be the word I'm looking for, because it's definitely not close to being open, Patrick. What's going on?
Why? What is happening there? What is going on that we don't know about? Is there a phantom of the Tron attraction that's like moving steel girders when no one's looking? I want the train back. I want Tron to open. You have this exact same coaster somewhere else. Why? Just why? Also, disguise the show building a little, a smidge. Like, your go-away blue and green is not working. It's a giant building. Yeah, you can launch it, but when are you going to put people on it? It's not going to be open before the end of the 50th year.
I mean, there's a reason why they invented Go Away Green. I mean, and the Sky Blue is so that you don't see these big show buildings, Patrick. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't.
I
see them.
certainly do.
Matt, when you went, did you see the show building?
Yeah.
Ah,
I think we've seen it for many years now. It is an eyesore, and to Patrick's point, like, this is a copy. It's not like they've invented a new ride system. It's not like they've invented anything new about this attraction. It's been with us. It's been in another park for years now. So it's like they're kind of inventing the wheel here. They had the measurements. They've had the schematics. It's like they're like working as they go on making this thing work. They have a park that's had this thing working for years, and this shouldn't have taken this long. And to Patrick's point, I've been on the side of, oh yeah, it'll be opened up within 18 months of the celebration. I'm starting to doubt that now. And it just feels so disingenuous now with the marketing around this attraction, because like I followed the Disney Parks TikTok, and they had this TikTok video of like the Imagineers there excited for the first launch, the first full speed test, and this big celebration amongst Imagineers. And I'm kind of sitting here thinking, it's taken this long. That's been my thought. And I think that's really how the Disney PR team views their guests of, yeah, I think there's us who are watching this step by step, but then there's the normies that are out there like, oh, cool, like this ride's about to open. But we all know that it's going to be another probably 6 to 8 months before they even finish the pavement. So,
well, it's 2022, Matt. There is no such thing as a normie anymore. Nothing's normal. Absolutely nothing is normal. Nobody is normal. Fair. Nothing's normal. But you know, I was thinking about the show building situation that you were talking about at the Magic Kingdom. And Stephanie, I think you'd agree with me with this one. Like, it's been one of those things where you don't see behind the scenes. They don't put a crack in the magic. And you know, I get it with some of the other things. We've seen the Soarin' building. Again, no matter what color they're going to paint it, we've still seen it. When you go to the top of Slinky Dog, you still see, you know, everything behind the scenes of Galaxy's Edge. But they've been so good with it in Disney, like in the Magic Kingdom, that people don't know that there's a show building for the Haunted Mansion. They just don't. They're blown away when you tell them that. It's like, it's not all in that building? That's crazy.
Splash's show building, too.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, shouldn't it be different with the Magic Kingdom, or am I just pipe dreams?
I wish it was that way. I mean, think about Epcot and the sight line of Tower of Terror. They painted that the same color as Morocco because you'd be able to see that from where you're standing there.
Great
so
point.
They did it in other parks too, but let's be honest, if they're not going to finish the Black Spires of Batuu, even when you go over the Slinky Dog coaster, you can see the ends of those, and they're not going to do anything to the show buildings. They haven't done that since Everest, honestly. The backside of Everest is just a straight building, which is disappointing.
Yeah, especially because you can see it from the road. Like,
exactly.
What the heck? Yeah, no, I think we all thought, oh, well, that's just a minor. That's just they're going to finish it someday or whatever. It's just, yeah, you're right. It's just frustrating that, you know, again, looking at the Magic Kingdom has always been perfectly placed with hiding everything, and you know, it's on a second level so that everything can happen on the utilidor and all of these things and all this trouble they've gone to. And now there's a big old blue building that just Patrick sees in his nightmares. And I wish that he wasn't being tormented this way, because I like the guy. I feel bad. I feel bad. I know. It's very sweet. So let's move on to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. We've talked about it coming back, but tickets are now on sale for Walt Disney World guests, which is interesting to me because I feel like they haven't given Walt Disney World guests a lot of perks, or at least as much as I think they would when it comes to park passes. The park reservations, they don't promise you that you can get in the park even if you have that. When you go through and you're booking your hotel, it actually will say, wait, hold on a second, pause, go check and see if there's any reservations first, honey, and then come back here and we'll hook you up. So then I was calling DVC, and man, I've had so much frustration with Disney today. So if I came in a little bit hot, it was earned. But when you go, but when I was on with them, that's one of the things they asked me in the phone tree was, you know, are you calling about Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party tickets, you know, for hotel guests? Then, you know, press 1. It was the first option on there. So it's clearly something that they are doing to promote staying on grounds. But Matt, it's hard to get a hotel on grounds. So what's even happening here?
Yeah, it is hard. I think it's definitely requiring people to make a decision months and months prior to when they used to have to make reservations. I know that my family and I, we've made just like kind of spur of the moment, like a month or two out. Probably, well, it was like before the pandemic. Now it's just the parks are so busy that hotel rooms are just booking up. But I think it's great that we're seeing some sort of benefit to staying on property. Years ago, there were so many benefits, and now we're seeing so few. It is a benefit in terms of spending more money at the parks, interestingly enough. But I think they're not so scary, and the after-hours parties are so great. I think it's one of the best things that is going on in the parks right now. That's great that we can see resort guests actually getting benefit to going to these parties first. So.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know what you're talking about when you say the parks are full, because there's this park reservation system that is great at making sure we handle the people in the park. So you must be wrong on that one. I don't really think that's
totally wrong.
Patrick?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm actually looking right now for Not So Scary for when I'm going to see if it's sold out. I'm once again paying too much money and not getting enough for it to, I don't really want to miss it. It's one of my favorite events. I'm not even a Halloween person.
Well, they don't go on sale to the Gen Pop until May 18th. So
right,
unless
but
you already
I have a hotel reservation.
Oh, excuse me. I thought you were staying off grounds again. Seems to be your thing.
No, I'm at the Polynesian this time, Rob, because I need to go back enveloped in the magic.
Answer the call, Patrick. Answer the call.
I'm just hoping that it's the same or not as like the after hours parties, because those were not worth the money. I always felt that it was worth the money for Not So Scary and Very Merry, and I'm hoping that the event meets my expectations.
Yes. Okay. Stephanie, I'm sorry. I'm sure you're not going.
Not going to Not So Scary, but we went last year. And yes, I think that as entertainment comes back, as you get more of the offerings that they typically have, the parade twice a night, that kind of thing, and more of the dance parties, and let's do the overlays. Don't forget about that on the rides. I think you get more bang for your buck. The problem is that they've increased the price so much. And yes, if you're an AP or a DVC member, usually you get a discount with that. But my gosh, I mean, for my family, $1,200 for a few hours for what? You know, I mean, $200 a person. That's insane.
Oh my gosh, F in chat for that. I am so sorry. I didn't think about it in that terms. As a matter of fact, when Patrick told me the first time he went after Lightning Lane how much he paid for his entire family to go on Rise of the Resistance, I basically fell on the floor and cried, because again, when you have more than a family of four, you just don't usually think about how this affects everybody. But but tickets go on sale May 18th for those of you who do not have a reservation. But if you have a hotel reservation or you're thinking about going, you should probably get one ASAP, be able to get those tickets before they get eaten up by the general population. So I don't know. I did the Oogie Boogie Bash in California last year, so I'm ruined for the rest of my life. But the last time I went to Mickey's Not So Scary, it was long lines to see Jack Skellington, to the point where and I think I said this on ParksCenter recently, is that you go in and you see three characters, you know, then you got to leave. It's over, because that's what you spent your night doing, and that seems unfair. So I think it's going to be more people in the park than there were for the after hours ticket. It's going to be more expensive, to your point, and but there are some offerings that will be returning, and that'll be exciting. So this one doesn't bother me a lot, but I want to get like the thought process here from everybody else, because I think they were putting more value into Genie Plus by adding character meet and greets to it. We know that character meet and greets are back in full force now. You know, you can go and hug Olaf, Matt. But now that they have all these things open, it seems like the more you could put on the Genie Plus system, the better. But now they've decided, oh, well, we've got these red carpet dreams starring Mickey and Minnie, and we're going to go ahead and pull them off of the Genie Plus system. And then, now guests get to wait in line. Now they're painting the picture as guests get to wait in line, as opposed to the Genie Plus line, which was, hey, Genie Plus will keep you from having to wait in line and improve the guest experience. So my frustration here is like, again, I feel for people who want to do this. Like, it's not on my list to go and do these. not these in particular, but I do think that there was some value to them being on there. And Patrick, you were just there. Did you sink some money into Genie Plus, and did you do some meet and greets?
Yeah, I was really upset when I heard about this because the meet and greets are one of the best things, especially for Mickey at Town Square. This is really helpful. We have a little one. We want to make sure we're doing all the things that she needs to do. And yeah, we pay for Genie Plus because our annual pass is a sunk cost. We might as well add, $15 as our admission for the day. I think these should be on there no matter what. We were able to fast pass Olaf. We were able to fast pass Mickey. Luckily, Anna and Elsa didn't have a long wait. But, it feels very weird and very haphazard what they're picking and choosing, what gets Lightning Lane and what doesn't.
Yeah. Well, so, again, to that point and them taking this away, there's got to be a reason, right? Nobody wakes up in the morning. Management doesn't wake up in the morning. At least I hope to God there's some sense to it. They don't wake up in the morning and go, I think we've been giving a little bit too much to the Genie Plus people. Let's take some stuff away. Or, there's got to be, as much as Disney is known for being like basically Q scientists in the past to make the experience better, bringing Fast Pass, bringing Fast Pass Plus and, the My Disney experience, you've got to think that there was some reason that they decided to take these off. Stephanie, quick, tell us, what was the reason?
I don't know. Maybe it was because people... Maybe it was because people were just not lining up, and they needed more time to keep people, like a people eater situation. I don't know. You can meet Mickey at, like Patrick said, at Hollywood and Vine, and in the Magic Kingdom you can't. So the meet Mickey situation over there is different. Maybe that was it. Maybe it could be as simple as that. I don't know, Rob.
Oh, maybe Matt has the answer. Matt, do you have the answer?
The only thing I think of is potentially there was more people in the Lightning Lane queue than the actual standby queue. I don't know facts to back that up, but I think that might be the only reason why. But to Patrick's point, I think it's important to have these value-added experiences, value-added offerings to Lightning Lane for especially parents with young kids. I've got 3 toddlers, so having the ability to skip the line to meet Mickey, to meet any of these characters is invaluable to my day, because if you try to fit in one more meet and greet before nap time, it's great to only wait a couple minutes versus 20 to 30 minutes. So
I just picture Matt walking through the park.
His nap time, not his kids.
I picture him walking through the park with one kid on each arm, and they're going like this, like I don't want to be here.
I've been there. I've built a droid with a kid sleeping on my shoulder. So
nice.
That seems like it's more about you than something you should get a medal for, but whatever. I do think though that when it comes to this stuff, that I agree. Like not having little kids right now, but having been there before, the idea that you can make a reservation, get them excited, where they're gonna go meet Merida, they're gonna go meet Mickey, whoever. That's got to mean a lot to you as a parent to be able to book that. And why they would take this back, I don't know. I did see somebody say something about how what happens when you go in the app and there are no Lightning Lanes available. You just would do standby. You would wait in line if you wanted to. Or get angry. Either one. If you're Patrick, you just get angry.
I mean, it's a service that you paid for, and the fact that you're not guaranteed anything is absurd. Our worst day is we literally refreshed the screen, and it went from an 8:50 Frozen Ever After to 7 p.m. And it was just like, we have to stay in Epcot in the baking heat with no shade until 7 to make sure our kid can. And God bless you with 3 toddlers. That's not fathomable. Mine has enough personality and attitude for all toddlers. But man, I get mad paying for Genie Plus because I don't want to pay for it, but I know it's valuable and I know it's useful. And when it's not valuable and useful and I paid for it and I already feel guilty and hypocritical for paying for it, I get more mad.
Well, and we've been told that on the Disney website that this, is about going to give you about 3 to 4 experiences in a day.
Right.
Which, I mean, lie to me at that point.
I
don't want to hear that it's only going to get me 3 to 4 in a day. I want to hear that it's basically going to take care of my entire day, and I'm not going to have to wait for anything, and it's going to be great. Can you do that? Okay.
Only at Universal.
Only at Universal. Oh, man, we can talk about some things in the post show about all that kind of stuff. But so the couple I lovingly called in our sheet the rap sheet because I feel like sometimes I get this feeling about Florida. And honestly, these next few stories, and we had a bunch of stories about things that were happening in Florida. The guy who had the gun slung over his head and was eating the drugs to try not to get caught.
Alleged.
Alleged.
Allegedly.
It was
Stuff like that. And Eric Morton was on that time. He's like, well, they weren't from Florida. And I'm like, but it all goes down in Florida. Like that's the thing. Like, I feel like I get what you're saying, but still. So this was a fun story, is that apparently Ethan Hunt, not Mission Impossible Ethan Hunt, but Ethan Hunt, was running an illegal taxi service at Disney Springs. So basically this guy didn't have a license of any kind, but there was this part in here where it says his driver's license was canceled indefinitely in December of 2018. Indefinitely. And then you go down here and it says Hunt had been caught speeding, not stopping at traffic lights, not yielding to pedestrians, crossing the street on I-Drive, driving with a suspended license, not having insurance, and was once pulled over for driving 56 in a 35. So good. So good. And apparently he'd been trespassed before from Disney Springs, and so they had to re-trespass him for this. So he shows up, has a little taxi light on there, has no taxi license, has all of these infractions against him, and a lot of them he hasn't shown up for or paid, and he can just come into Disney and pick people up. That's one of the things that we've talked about in the past, is we're in that bubble. And Stephanie, I'm going to run this to you first, but you're in that bubble, and I feel like we just kind of trust the bubble, and clearly when things like this come up, I just shake my head, and I'd like to think I'm going to pay more attention next time.
You're absolutely right. You are in a bubble and you do just automatically trust. And we use Uber and Lyft a lot, but of course they have an app, so you can check your driver against who you're getting into the car with, right? So, but yes, if you're desperate and you have a dining reservation that's across property, maybe you grab a taxi. This is a safety issue, and I'm glad that they caught him. But dude was just trying to make a buck, I guess.
Tran in chat says, "Ladies, he's single too."
No.
Good old Ethan Hunt. I mean, not like you wouldn't already have a lot of trouble dealing with that name.
Yeah.
I think I appreciate it more because he has that name. He should automatically hit the music as soon as he gets a fare. But that takes some chutzpah to just kind of roll up with a taxi sign and yep, I'm a taxi driver. Especially when you haven't had a license for 4 years.
Yeah.
Find another hustle, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Bike messenger or something.
Or sell roses, or bootleg Justin Bieber T-shirts, or for gosh sake, something else. Matt?
Yeah. I just want to know what this vehicle looked like, and what were these people thinking that hopped in that car? Because I can't imagine it being the most welcoming environment. But that's just me being judgy, I guess. But yeah, I'm glad they found him, and yeah.
Well, so I saw this on Instagram, and I don't know how real this is, but somebody was saying that there's somebody at MCO who has been walking around with a Disney name tag on and offering to give people rides. That's different from this situation. That's not a story that I've read, just something I saw on Instagram. And if that is true, man, just public service announcement, just don't. Just because somebody's wearing a Disney name tag, especially outside the park, don't trust them. If you were getting a minivan, you can't miss it. It's red and white polka dot. You can't miss it. So, yeah, I mean, if this guy is hustling just by having a name tag, you can get those off of eBay, people. So be careful, what you're doing out there. So speaking of which, I don't know when you were there, Patrick, if you brought your own meth, but apparently you have.
No, I thought I would.
Yeah, no, they don't supply it anymore.
Food and Meth Festival.
No, they don't supply it anymore. You have to bring your own meth, and apparently people will stop you. And again, thank goodness for the security guards, because I can't imagine a more frustrating job than being a TSA or a Disney security guard or a security guard for like a venue or any of those things where you've got to be the bad guy, you've got to be looking for everything all the time. Now that we've got these new systems in place where you just walk through, it seems less safe, but because they're basically doing a whole scan, it should be safer than what we've seen in the past. They still do bag checks. I feel like 100% of the time I get stopped with like, "Sir, I'm sorry, you're still going to need to check your bag." And I'm like, "What did I bring this time?" Like,
do you carry pins in your bag?
Sometimes it's been pins.
That's gotten
Sometimes
me.
it's been 2 or 3 fuel rods put together. Sometimes it's been like I'll pull my laptop out, but it'll be the charger. It's always something, but at least so apparently somebody tried to bring in meth and a crack pipe, because you can't just do meth with no crack pipe. That's insane. But you can bring in the meth and the crack pipe in a glasses case, which is one of those things they look for when you're walking through. They say, "Do you have any umbrellas or any glasses cases? Hold them up." And apparently maybe he was shaking when he was holding it up. I don't know what the deal was, but you would think that if you were going to have a lovely day at Disney, you may just go ahead and skip the meth for the day. But I don't really know how that works. But I don't want to go to Patrick on that one first, because now that feels awkward. I'm going to go to Matt.
Yeah. I just doles are my meth. But it's just shocking, the things that we're finding out. And I'm hoping it's just because like security's gotten more advanced and we're finally finding out about these things. But it's also disturbing to think that like a few years ago, when security didn't have all these advanced scanners and things like that, we could have been sitting next to someone with a bag full of meth in their pocket. It's just bizarre, the world we're living in right now. I actually grew up next to the meth capital of the U.S. Is that you don't want to sit next to a meth addict. It's not a fun situation.
Well, what if it's the new Finding Nemo show? No? Okay. Because I bet they're having a good time.
World.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, I mean, there's not really much to say on this one. So let's just switch to this story about someone stealing stuff from strollers. Here's what I like about this story first. That's a weird thing to say. Here's what I find interesting about this story is that somebody saw the security guard taking this young gentleman away in cuffs and says, "A magical day at Disney World, arresting a child." Like, how dare you? How dare you? Like, talk about not having any context. Let's get mad first and ask questions second, right? Like, I mean, it's kind of insane that that's how our minds go. We're just like,
We're so
obviously.
doomed.
Yeah, exactly. Like, get mad first, figure it out later. And then the next story we find out is that they were stealing things from strollers. Again, I mean, Stephanie, it goes back to the whole bubble thing. I'm sure you have a stroller when you're going in, or it sounds like 7 of them. But when you go into the park and you have a stroller, I mean, do you usually leave things in the stroller, or are you pretty paranoid about that?
No, absolutely we do, and it's because everybody else does. And even though the cast member might move your stroller, sometimes we have 2 double strollers, Rob, like seriously. But yeah, I leave my backpack. Now I do recommend that you take, ladies, take a purse that's small, or a fanny pack, or something that has your credit cards and things like that in it with you on the rides, because you can put backpacks even on the rides with you. So do that. Don't leave that kind of valuable information, stuff into the stroller. But yeah, I mean, if they were to come steal from me, it would be bubbles and snacks and diapers and I don't know.
No, and somebody in the chat asked what they were taking. They were taking wallets. They were taking money.
Yeah.
They were taking
Exactly.
valuables. And I have 2 points about this that I've been waiting to share. One is, obviously this is the same situation as we had with the hotel sting a couple of weeks ago that we reported, where again, you leave things in there because you just feel like it's the Disney bubble and you're safe to leave them there, and that you've paid all this money for this hotel room and all that. But the second thing is what we talked about at the top of the show, is that we have a very different favorable clientele now coming to the parks. You're going to bring people who are going to go, "Where's the money?" That's where the money is, and those are the people who probably feel falsely secure. So, Patrick, thoughts? No?
Nope, I froze. So I'm here.
Give me a thought.
Yeah, I do not leave my wallet or anything. And actually on this trip, I was leery to even leave bags from gift shops in my stroller. I covered stuff up because we're just in a weird place, man. And it doesn't feel safe in the bubble right now, as you can see by the next topic.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, shh, don't jump ahead. So the thing is that we still have 34 seconds left on this one, and we haven't gone to Matt yet. Matt, I assume you have stroller when you go to the parks, and do you leave stuff in them?
Yeah, so I've always been skeptical for years about leaving valuables in our strollers and things we leave behind. Obviously, there's this false sense of security when you're in Disney World that oh, I'll leave my stroller. There's this untold, unspoken rule that you just don't mess with someone else's stroller. Obviously, cast members move them, but we've been actually adding rain covers to the baskets of our strollers. So it's an extra layer of you have to go through it, unzip the cover and actually take some effort versus just grab them in a bag and get rummaging through it. But I always grab my wife's wallet before we leave our stroller behind. We each have a fanny pack, so anything else that we think is valuable, if we bought something a little bit more expensive in a shop, that we make sure it's either with guest services or with us as we go on a ride.
You know, Dawn is saying in chat, who leaves their wallet or phone, though that's asking for trouble. And it is, but here's the thing that I feel like, and maybe I'm the only one that's been this way as a parent, but when you have to deal with kids and a stroller, it's just kind of nice to think, maybe we could just leave this stuff in the stroller and not have to haul it around with our kid and everything else that comes with that. And so maybe we just think, maybe it's just okay to do that because you've just had such a day, right? And so you just may leave stuff behind. Now, I wouldn't leave a phone in there, but again, a lot of attractions now say they don't want you to bring anything, especially at Universal. You can't bring a penny in your pocket. You can't bring other things. You have to go to the lockers. The lockers are a nightmare, So, I mean, it's one of those things. It's just hey, we already have this little cart here. Let's just put stuff in, put the poncho over top of it, and just hope and pray that nobody grabs anything off it. So I can, defend people who do it because you're exhausted, especially if you have 18 kids like Stephanie does. So the next thing that we pointed out here, Patrick, and I think that this really kind of goes back to the fact that Kamila had it right when she said, let's not do boats. Boats are bad. Boats are bad. I mean, how many of these brawls are happening on the monorail? No, they're happening on the ferry. There's something very maddening about the ferry, apparently, that causes fights. One fight after another. This one says 3 brothers brawl in yet another ferry boat fight at the Magic Kingdom. Patrick, why are we, you're the wrestling expert here. Why are we seeing so many brawls go down on the ferry? Is it that boats make people angry? Is it that there's just more room to throw fists? What is it that is making people fight on the ferry boats? And is it that we're just catching more of it because of phones, or are people just angrier?
It is a total lack of empathy in the world. And that sounds dark and not really great for a Disney news podcast to say, but there is a lack of willing to feel what other people feel. This situation with 3 brothers, I imagine this is not the first time they've gotten into a fight somewhere. But it's just, man, people are not kind to each other, and everybody wants to get a little more space for themselves. And it's a bad place right now philosophically in the world. I hope that we'll come together as a people and realize that we got to care for each other because no one else is gonna. But man, it's sad. This stuff is sad.
On earth, answer the
No, it's the happiest place on earth, Rob. Listen to the CEO.
Yeah, exactly. The CEO says they're all the happiest place on earth, right? It's anywhere where he is counting his money is the happiest place on earth. Hey-o. Back to Stephanie on this one.
Yeah, this is just ridiculous. The other times that this has happened, it's because somebody ran over somebody with a stroller or, whatever the situation was. But this was a family of brothers, and none of them, gave each other into the cops. They didn't say anything about what they were pressing any charges, I guess is how you say it. So whatever, this is just ridiculous. And I think they all need to be trespassed from Disney and say bye-bye.
And Matt, thoughts?
Yeah, I think Patrick's right on about the empathy. I think we as a society are really in a really bad place. But I think, too, those issues are just exacerbated by the current parking experience. That I think it's kind of, we're like a broken record at this point. We pay so much to hope to have a great experience, and if that experience isn't, or the expectation isn't met, as we're leaving the Magic Kingdom at the end of the day, we might be a little annoyed. We might be a little upset that either our son or daughter didn't have as great a time as we hoped, or would have had based off the amount of money we spent. But two, I think it's just no one has a idea or caring for someone else's experience in life. But again, these are three brothers. I think it's just sad that we don't have the manners, the couth to realize that, hey, there are kids around us. Like, if there's an argument to be had, have it in your hotel room and deal with it there. Don't be doing this in a crowded ferry boat at the end of the night, So it's just sad that we're experiencing this.
That's a great point, man. I mean, it's scary. Like, the being around that is scary. If you're on the New York subway, it's scary. And if you're, again, in that bubble, you're thinking, that's not here. That's not going to be here. And you assume that all the people around you think the same way.
Exactly.
So I agree with you. Same thing with, like, coarse language. I feel like, not to offend the little brother, as you keep calling them, but people walking around with open beers and dropping the F-bomb happens more at Universal than it does at Disney, because, again, we're all kind of in that same space of we all feel the same way. We're all here to give a good experience for our families and have a good vacation. And so I think those are just some common decencies, and you would think, wow, you couldn't just not break out into a fight? Like, I mean, even my worst day at Disney is still usually one of my best days. And so the idea that it would be so bad that I would like this fight. I mean, if they're three brothers, they could have waited and beaten the crap out of each other at the TTC. It didn't have to do it on the boat. I mean,
Parking lot.
Yeah, exactly. Parking lot brawls are so much better. So anyway, from the most magical place, despite what Bob says, to the happiest place, Disneyland, a few things. Magic Key. Here's the thing. That the Magic Key program came back. We were excited about it because, okay, good. They're still going to have APs, even though it wasn't favorable for the guests or the customers. I guess we're calling ourselves now, Matt, not guests. But even though it wasn't favorable for us, we were still like, well, thank goodness this has come back. And then somebody was like, ooh, lawsuit, because even though you had fine print, I didn't read it. So therefore, when you say there are no blackout dates, but then because of park reservations, all comes back to that now you're saying I can't get in. They did a lawsuit. Apparently that lawsuit's now going forward. And it scares me because I feel like Disney is going to go, if they win this lawsuit, Disney is going to go, well, let's just get rid of the program completely. Or am I wrong? You kind of cocked your head, Patrick. You're not worried about that? Because I worry about that Disney's just going to go, look, we put this back out there. We're not loving it because those aren't the type of people we're excited about having in the park. And I just think it's going to shine a light on it. You don't think so, though?
No, when you said it gave me pause because it definitely could be a reason to get rid of the passes. I honestly don't think they're coming back to California. I think when you're not going to be able to renew it, but I hope that they keep them in Florida. I'm hopeful. Disney needs a couple of these things. They need to be taken down a couple pegs. And yeah, your fine print doesn't really cover everything. I mean, I'm just thinking about all the stuff we've lost as DVC members, and if there's a class action lawsuit in there somewhere between the lounge and the way our points are allowed to be used, it doesn't seem that they're playing by the rules, that are just abiding by a little bit of fine print here and there.
Yeah, I worry about it. I mean, I had this conversation with little Tommy Corliss about the fact that what happens to him if the AP goes away in Florida and you've got to pay full price every time you want to go into that park. Now, I know it seems ridiculous, but every other company that is a theme park company offers a season pass at an extremely discounted rate, and Disney's is the most expensive one of all of them. Whether Disneyland, Disney World, it's the most expensive one of all of them. So I really feel like okay, I'm willing to pay that price, just keep that program in place. But I do worry that, they revamped it, they brought it back. We were like, at least it's coming back. It's worse, but it's coming back. And now that it's come back, I mean, Stephanie, how would, especially because you have DVC, how would that change your experience if just in Florida they were like, nah, we're not going to do that anymore?
Well, it would definitely put pause on our, coming every 2 or 3 months, 2-3 times a year at least. But as far as Disneyland goes, I have a friend and coworker who is going out there this week, actually, and they made hotel reservations at the Disneyland Hotel. They had tickets all set and ready to go. They forgot to make park passes. And so they started, they went online and they were completely sold out of park passes for the dates that they were going to be there. But I found out that because they had a hotel reservation, there's a separate bucket, shall we say, of park passes reserved for those, so they were able to get them through their hotel. So that's just a tip for everybody who's traveling out to Disneyland who hasn't been. It's different than at Disney World. So, but yeah, I hope that this sheds light on the park pass system, because the lawsuit that is, rather than making the Magic Key annual pass go away, because I think that that's going to be a huge detriment to Disneyland, because they have so many people that just love Disneyland and its heritage out there.
Yeah. Matt, final thought on that before we move on?
Yeah, I think it's pretty absurd to think that Disneyland especially wouldn't have an annual pass system, because they're such a locals-based park that not to have an annual pass is pretty absurd. And I think Stephanie's point, the park pass system, I think, is really the biggest culprit. I'm a part of a few like Disney Facebook groups, and the amount of stories I hear about people getting to the parks and not having park reservations, even though they had their resort and tickets paid for months in advance, and they get there and they don't realize or forgot to do park pass reservations, and they can't go into the parks, I think is asinine. I think it's bad. It's becoming more and more issues coming from it than positive, I think, and we're not seeing really immense changes in population control or crowd control in the parks. So I think it's just a failing system.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I want to, I mean, we have a lot of stuff to cover, and we're basically out of time here, but there was a couple other things that I want to jump to. So Avengers Campus in Disneyland Paris is finally going to be opening up. I'm pretty excited about this. They released a video this week of it so that you can see a little bit of what kind of things are going to happen. It looks very similar to DCA with the stunt show happening up on top of the building, and you've got the web slingers is a thing that's happening, and but they've also got the Iron Man roller coaster there. So with the Iron Man roller coaster being there, I feel like ours is the worst. Is that safe to say? You got 3 basically Avengers Campus. You have Stark Expo in Hong Kong, which has the Iron Man experience, the Nano battle with Ant-Man, and you've got here in Paris, you're going to have web slingers, which is the biggest attraction we have, and then you're also going to have, I guess Guardians Tower maybe evens it out, but this roller coaster looks like it's going to be pretty amazing. So it feels like it's kind of the worst one. Am I wrong on that, Matt, or do you agree?
I think the one thing that California has over Paris is that we have that Stuntronic, which I hear that's not going to show up in Paris just to budget cuts. But I think this Avengers Campus concept is pretty neat. I've not been to Disneyland yet. I'm trying to look at planning a trip within the next year or two, potentially. And so I really look forward to seeing Avengers Campus. I think saying it's the worst one, I think they're all pretty similar, with certain things outweighing other things. We have the Stuntronic in Anaheim, but we'll have some more character interactions in Paris and this roller coaster. But I think really what's missing from Anaheim is that e-ticket attraction, where I don't think Web Slingers, in my mind, is a true e-ticket.
No, I don't think they think it is.
One or two tiers below that, yeah. Is that it really needs that e-ticket attraction to really set it up as potentially the best one.
Yeah, I also saw this concept art, which looks very cool, about this meet and greet space that they're calling the training center. This looks like something you'd see on the cruise ship. If there's a way that they could take a picture where it looks like Iron Man and my entire family is floating, okay. I don't know that that's truly a thing that's happening. But
we have that stuff at the casino in Connecticut, like those full round time-lapse pictures. So I think they might be able to do it. And especially looking at the concept art, all the rooms are very rounded. So I'm thinking that might be a possibility, which is really freaking cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Also saw this. These new costumes look very similar to the ones that we have in California. Yeah. So I don't think that there was much of a departure there. But I think the one thing that stands out to me from the past week's information, because there was a big information dump with that video, is that the opening date for this is they thought May 20th, unfinished. So the conversation was, we're going to open it May 20th unfinished, the two, or we're going to open it in June, but without the restaurant, or we'll just open it completely in July. And one thing that never occurred to me is these quarters of revenue. Like, they had the 30th anniversary. Now, if they wait a little while, like and wait for this thing to open, they may miss the next quarter. So I mean, it does make kind of sense for them to open it up partially to be able to get people in, but it does feel like sort of a mistake. I don't know, Stephanie, would you go to an unfinished land, or would you hold all of your travel until it was done?
Well, certainly international travel, I would wait until it's completely finished. If it's me flying over to Disneyland from the East Coast here, then that's probably going to be okay, even if it was somewhat half done. But yeah, I agree with Matt that our Disneyland needs to have an e-ticket ride for sure. And Disneyland Paris, I mean, I think it's great what they've got concept art wise. It looks gorgeous, and my kids love Spider-Man and the meet and greets and everything. So that looks great too, but they do need to have it, I think, fully open before they let people in.
Yeah. Patrick, thoughts before we move on?
Moving on. I think those two covered it real well.
All right. So the last two I want to talk about is this breaking news that came on Friday, the 13th. Bum, bum, bum. Disney Premier Access paid Fast Pass coming to Tokyo. Not Tokyo. Come on. I feel like, Tokyo's the crown jewel, right? Everything's better in Tokyo. Nothing goes wrong in Tokyo. Why are they doing this in Tokyo, Patrick? Why?
They really wanted to upset Tom and Spencer. I feel was their main goal, was just to see if they could irritate the two of them and give them a reason to think that Tokyo is just as good as the rest of the park. It's the way it's going. It's just where we're at and where we're going. And once people stop paying for it and it stops becoming profitable, it'll go away.
Yeah,
or be modified again.
I think I thought, well, if this happens in Paris and they they riot, then it won't happen in the U.S. But they didn't, and here it came, and now Japan's like, if they do it in the U.S., might as well do it here. I do know that there's been more of a lottery situation to try to get on some of these attractions. The two in particular are their version of Soarin' the Fantastic Flight, and then also the Beauty and the Beast attraction, which both look amazing. If I was to go there, those would be the ones I would want to be on. So that's something that to me looks very exciting. Stephanie, anything on this one before we move on?
My only thought was, does this coordinate with the opening of Fantasy Springs out there? Or does that have anything to do with that? Or are they doing it prior to that?
No, they're doing it this coming week.
This coming week. Okay, well then no, but maybe they're trying to get that in place before there's a mad rush because of international travel coming back, that kind of thing.
Yeah. All right, so final topic here for the week. Monsters Cafe is closing. Now, normally we have our friend Annie on here to talk about Universal stuff, but this is just big. I don't know if you guys have gone to Universal and experienced this before. I think it, to me, is one of the cooler restaurants they have on all, across grounds. Now, we could debate that, but I think that it was always really cool to go in there. The whole vibe of it was so well themed. I get that they're going to be building at least the rumor is that they're building an entire Monsters, Universal Classic Monsters land in Epic Universe, but that's 2025. Why are they doing this right now, Matt? Why are they breaking our hearts?
Yeah, I've not experienced this restaurant in person, but I've seen a lot of photos, and I appreciate the Universal Monsters IP. But I think for me, obviously, it's one of those restaurants that we knew was going to be a casualty of Epic Universe being built. But I think it is odd that we're seeing this all of a sudden just kind of ripped out and closed. But yeah, I think it was expected, but I think it's interesting timing. I wasn't expecting this.
Patrick, have you ever been to this one? I assume you have, yeah?
Yeah. It's such a nice place. Like, it's such a different vibe. Oh, man. It's sad that it's going to be going, but it's always a good place to pop in. I've been inside every quick service or every restaurant around Universal because I just popped in. I had free time. It's so sad. Like, it's a one of a kind thing.
Yeah. Stephanie, have you been?
Yes, many years ago, but I'll be honest, I haven't been to Universal anything since 2016. But I must be a jinx because we're planning a trip for next year. So of course this closes right before we get to go. But I'm still looking forward to doing what we can out there. It is sad. It's one of the original things of the park, right? The monsters. So I hope that they keep some of that originality. At least E.T.
That's it. Like that's basically it from the original. That's
they
it.
better not take E.T.
Yeah,
that's one of my pick up a pitchfork attractions.
Yes.
Nothing's sacred anymore, Patrick. It really isn't.
No,
I feel like
E.T. is sacred.
No,
we still have that crappy E.T. knockoff Peter Pan. So
Or is E.T. just a better Peter Pan?
It is. It's a better Peter Pan. I tried to say that all through March Madness.
Yeah.
E.T.'s amazing. Keep E.T.
Yeah. No, I got you. So anyway, thank you guys for being on tonight. I do want to talk a little bit real quick about some, first of all, there is a post show for our WIGS members, so we love our WIGS members. Thank you guys so much for being members of the WDWNT Interglobe Society. We appreciate you. We'll have our post show right after this, so if you want more information about how you can be a part of the WIGS program, go to patreon.com/WDWNT. Also, if you guys have checked out our carouselproducts.com where we have all of our products on sale, we are almost out of this Earth Day shirt, which all the proceeds from the Earth Day shirt go to the Disney Worldwide Conservation Fund. We only have smalls and larges left, so Patrick, I can't wait to see what you look like snuggled up in a small. And then also we have this sci-fi button-down shirt with this green grab that I'm surprised Tom hasn't had me pull down yet. With him wearing this shirt. It's a great shirt. Very, very proud of this shirt. There were only a limited number of them made, and they were made exclusively for our Carousel products. So check it out, carouselproducts.com. We're also starting to run low on those. So we get real excited about that stuff. If you guys have feedback for stuff that we can do, we like to make things that we like, and we hope that you like them too. So. And then finally, don't forget to join us each and every week, ParksCenter, 8 p.m. Sunday nights. We'll be back again next Sunday night. And then also, if you want to swing by Deep in the Plus this week on Tuesday night, Allison from Original ParksCenter will be there with me, and we will be talking about 10 Things I Hate About You, the Heath Ledger legendary movie.
Oh.
I know you're bummed. I'm sorry. Allison asked first, man. You're doing a wrestling podcast. I don't really know what I have to say about that. So, thank you guys. We'll see the WIGS members on our post show, but everyone else, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.